What is up, everybody? Ryan here, and I am ready for episode number... I don't know. What episode are we on, Mike? Is this like 22? Double deuces. This is a milestone, man. 22. And today, I just have come to tell you, wherever you are, whatever you're doing in the moment, I'm just going to tell you. So listen up. Hey, today, do whatever you want. I mean it. Do whatever you want. There's one caveat, though, but here's what I would say. Years ago, my wife and I were a part of a ministry called Youth with a Mission, or YWAM, and it's an interdenominational missions organization, and we spent, I think, about 8 years there in total, and there are locations all over the world, but I went to the far, the distant YWAM Denver. I grew up in Aurora, so I went about literally like 30 minutes away. I didn't know there were other locations around the world. I could have gone to Hawaii. I could have gone to Thailand. No, I went to Arvada, Colorado, to the YWAM Denver base. But I'm not really mad or bitter about it. Not very much. But anyway, one of the things that I inherited during my time at YWAM was in the best way, to learn to listen for the voice of God. It was great. We would pray and expect God to speak to us in all kinds of ways, and I loved that. But also there was like this subterranean, notion that you really shouldn't do much or make major decisions in your life until you hear God tell you to do them. And so I think always, and it wasn't like explicit, but implicit in all the conversations and even praying and the theology of prayers, and that was this idea that, hey, you shouldn't really do any major things until you hear God tell you to do that. And so that's what we did. For years, we were on staff with YWAM Denver, and I'm so grateful for it. But we remained for a long time because we never felt like God told us to leave. Although, towards the end, we began to get an itch to go. We kind of wanted to leave, but we just sort of kept holding on because we had this implicit, bias towards staying until God told us to go. And then one day, I had this great privilege to have dinner with a pastor who's from Minneapolis. His name is Greg Boyd. He's excellent. He's a theologian and a scholar and a pastor. You should read any books you can by him. His church is in Maplewood area. But anyway, he and I had dinner together in Denver, just he and I, and it was great. I was a young guy. We went out to dinner, and I was kind of telling him this, me and Katie kind of want to try some new things and stretch our legs, but we don't want to go anywhere until God tells us to go. And then he laughed at me. He goes, "Oh, is that how you think it works, Ryan?" And I was like, well, I did, right up until you laughed at me right there. And I go, "What do you think?" And he goes, "Listen, man, here's what I think." He said, it's like Augustine, the great saint and church father, said. Augustine said, "Hey, love God." I don't know if he said hey or not, hey. But he said, "Hey, love God and love others and do whatever you want." And the moment Greg said that night at dinner, we were at the Macaroni Grill, I felt this huge burden lift off of my shoulders. I can really do whatever I want. He goes, "Yeah, here's the caveat. Love God and love others, and do whatever you want." So many of us are just tied up in knots to try to discover the will of God for our lives. And I would remind you of this quote, too, that was from the Lynn family. They have a book called Sleeping with Bread. I think I've mentioned it before somewhere, but read it. It's awesome. They just said this: your desire to do the will of God is the will of God. So the minute that you are like, "All right, God, I'm in. I want to do your will." That desire to do God's will, that's God's will, that he would have your heart, he'd have your attention, he'd have your calendar, that your desire to do God's will is what God wants. And then he's like, "All right, now we're playing with house money. Do whatever you want. You want to go start an orphanage in Florida? Great. You want to work at Pizza Hut and manage your staff and love on them and be a blessing to them and make great pizza? Awesome. Whatever you want to do, love God and love others and do it." And some folks are like, "Yeah, but Ryan, does that mean I can go ahead and, start a drug ring and murder people and have many extramarital affairs?" No, dude, that's not what I'm saying. Of course not, because that's not loving God and that is not loving others. So if you do those two things, then anything underneath that umbrella will be just fine. So if you're out there today and you're like, "I don't know what I want to do with my life. I don't know what God's will is for my life. I'm not going to do anything until God tells me to," I would say this: as you walk, of course, keep your cell phone on, not literally, but keep your ears open to what God might say as he directs your path, but trust in the goodness of God and the grace of God, and love God and love others, and do whatever you want. And as you go, I believe that God will guide you. If you're going the wrong direction, God will probably, most certainly, as he's done with me, come in and be like, oh, I'm going to close that door. Okay, I'll go this way, as has happened in scriptures before too. So, but all you're intending to do then, I would say, is just to love God and love others and do whatever you want. So, Mike and myself and anybody listening to this, today, whatever you do, go love God and go love others and do whatever you want. All right, love you guys. Peace.
Hey, if you enjoy this show, I'd love to have you share it with some friends. And don't forget, you are always welcome to join us in person at Central in Elk River at 8:30, which is our liturgical gathering, or at 10 o'clock, our modern gathering. Or you can check us out online at clcelkriver.org. Peace.